Okay, good morning, everybody. I'd like to call to order Public Health and Community Service. Can I get a roll call, please?
Althoff. Here. Shorten.
Here.
Sullivan.
Here.
Van Hoff.
Present.
Prager. Here. Hendricks. Lombergen.
Here. Okay, next up, could I get an approval for minutes from June 26th, please? Mr. Sullivan and Mr. Shorten, any discussion, changes? We're all good? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Yes, motion carries. Any public comments?
There's none.
None, okay.
Comment?
Oh, all right. Seeing none, we will move on to member comments. Ms. Althoff.
I just would like to inform anyone, I don't know if you've had direct contact with the McHenry Economic Development Commission, but for many years, the power behind that was Jean Schober. She passed away last night. I'll let you know details, et cetera, as soon as I know them. But again, she really was the force behind that, interior part of the organization.
Thank you for letting us know that. Okay, seeing no other member comments, we'll move on to new business. So we've got an interview for the Housing Authority, Tara, and I believe she is here. Good morning. If you would join us, please, up here at the table. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
If you would just take a couple minutes and let us know of your interest in the Housing Authority.
Sure,
Maybe
yeah.
a little bit of background.
Okay.
And then we'll leave a couple minutes for any member questions.
Perfect. Hi, I'm Tara Frost. I live in McHenry. I moved pretty recently, a few months ago, from St. Charles. I currently lead the project management office at NIU in the Department of IT. I have a couple decades worth of leadership and strategic planning, process improvement, experience in the public and private sector. At NIU, I'm on a couple of councils, including the Presidential Council of Inclusion. And I'm really passionate about affordable housing. Growing up, all my family didn't utilize public housing help. We did utilize other public services because as my mom was a single mom and at times we were under the poverty level. So I know how important it is for help sometimes from the community in order to help people to reach out of poverty. So I hope that by serving on this community, I might be able to help with things like that and also bring my experience leading cross-functional teams and utilizing collaboration to help move things forward.
Great.
I always start questioning.
Sure. Yeah.
Welcome to the county.
Thanks.
Really delighted to have you.
Awesome.
And we love Northern Illinois University. We use them frequently for facilitation, et cetera.
Excellent.
So tell me, have you gone on the website or are you familiar with the mission of the Housing Authority?
I am. Yes. Yeah. I spend a lot of time on the website, and yes, I'm definitely, I've familiarized myself. I've watched some of the meeting recordings and some of the challenges you're facing. I'm sure like a lot of we're facing at NIU with funding and things like that. So yeah, I've familiarized myself, but I'm definitely anxious to hear more and more about your strategic goals and where the committee is hoping to make bigger impacts in the future.
So two comments and then I'm going to shut up. One, McHenry County and Kane County are engaging with CMAP and doing kind of a housing inventory strategic plan thing. It'd be real interesting to have you look at both of those because we are so different.
Okay.
Having lived in St. Charles and now living in, it'd be real interesting to see your analysis of the differences and the comments that come in between. So we'll utilize your experience there. And then I always give this kind of speech about, it's really important, I love people who do volunteer efforts, but it's really important that you understand that your attendance at meetings, and sometimes they're long, I mean, sometimes they last well after lunch. So I just want to make sure that you're aware that now that, potentially we'll appoint you, which there's one candidate, one we can say, I guess maybe we will. But how important that is that you're all in and that you show up and you be present for the duties and responsibilities of that commission.
Yeah, definitely. I report into the CIO. I've already talked to him about this. I'm somewhat flexible at NIU. I'm fortunate that I'm fully remote and I'm able to work my schedule around things. So, and NIU is very committed and passionate about volunteering and allowing employees to give back. So I definitely understand how important that is.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Sure.
Anybody else have any other questions?
I always like to ask what strengths you feel that you will be able to bring to
Sure.
the agency.
I'm very analytical. Right now I'm in project management. I started my career in IT, so I'm very data driven, and I think that's important, especially when you're working with constrained resources, to be able to look at data and help the team make data driven decisions. So I think that's one of my biggest strengths. And then also strategic planning. I think it's very important to be able to, especially in a situation like this, to be able to plan several years out. The community is counting on stability from this committee, and so I think that being able to do multi-year planning is also a big strength of mine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm delighted.
Yes, yes, yes. Well,
Awesome. Thank you so much.
thank you so much for coming in. You're more than welcome to stay. We are actually going to move right into deliberation, so if you'd like to stay, or you can get on with your day also.
I will say, thank you so much.
Okay, so 5-2. We have
I will go forward and be very bold and make a motion to appoint Tara Frost to the Housing Authority. I think she brings phenomenal skills and
Yes.
experience and background, so it'd be a great addition.
Okay.
Second.
And, all right, Ms. Van Hoff seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, motion carries. Thank you so much, Tara.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is discussion and selection for the Board of Health.
So I'll just, and I apologize, being the liaison to the Board of Health, let me explain. We had 3 vacancies that were open just recently, and we had 4 applicants. Ms. Lawson was the 4th applicant. 3 of them were returning members to the Board of Health with very short service records. So it obviously was the decision that we would appoint the 3, and then Carolyn was the 4th. Rather than opening up the process all over again, we had one of our members just recently inform us that she was moving, and it was a nurse's position. Ms. Lawson is a registered nurse, so we're bringing it forward. We were delighted, if you'll remember, with her interviewing skills, and so we just felt it would be appropriate, and she's thrilled to death to know that she doesn't have to be interviewed again.
I appreciate that so very much. Does anybody else have anything?
Do we have a motion?
Oh, there was a motion, yeah.
So, Ms. Van Hoff second, right?
Yes.
Or that was the last one? Okay, you motion. Okay. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Great, motion carries. Okay, routine consent agenda. Are there any items anybody would like to remove?
6-1. That's it.
Okay,
Then I'll make a motion to approve the routine consent agenda, minusing 6.1.
okay. Second,
Second.
Ms. Van Hoff seconds. Could I get a roll call, please?
Prager. Yes. Van Hoff.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Althoff.
Yes.
Von Bergen.
Yes. Okay, then I get a motion for 6-1. Mr. Shorten motions.
I'll second.
Ms. Althoff seconds. Discussion.
I pulled this because we had a lengthy discussion on Monday.
And you want to have another one?
We did, it was like.
Well, it's pertinent. I mean, if we're going to discuss it there, we might as well discuss it everywhere. But the issue of reclassifications mid-year, and it was it was a concern Monday and it's a concern here because these reclassifications, while it's not a big dollar amount, impacts. So I wanted to pull this, have you present as to why we're doing it and why we're doing it now. Sure.
And then we'll look at you and say, we don't like this, doing it in the mid-year, so please don't do it again. Or try not to do it again.
We appreciate that.
But, because it does skew things for us, so, yeah.
The most simple answer is kind of our general operating concept of when we know something, say something. When this particular role has been operating and functioning in this, there's really no difference as a community development specialist, one or two. All four of them have been, they're equally responsible. And the only thing that shifts is the topic of discussion. So when we have meetings, one of the big changes and I shouldn't say big changes, one of the big concepts as we've restructured this division over the past year has been to cross-train as much as possible. And so the leads will change, but that whole group will be involved, whether it's up front or whether it's behind the scenes. So recognizing that this one position was classified different, just didn't really carry any water, and we couldn't justify it internally. And so as our reviews of end-of-year reviews kind of came together, it jumped off the paper at us. And so it was, why now? It's because we couldn't justify carrying it in another 4 months to that position, to that person. And so we brought it forward. Understanding that we would get admonished, to be perfectly honest.
And notice they look at me when they do that. What is that?
I mean, I pulled it, so
Yeah, we were there.
So, right, I mean, does that, I guess, answer the why a little bit?
You had a transition.
Pardon me?
You had a change in staff.
Yes, we also had.
Accelerated this.
Yes, that's kind of the next branch of this. So in our budget request, we have a reclassification. Some unwinding, some knots, untying knots from how the division was structured. Kind of once the new budget hits, we're excited because this division will be it'll be structured similar to all the other ones. We have this temporary role that was remote, and that person ended up resigning, and so that vacancy created a little bit more pressure for this particular role to perform in a couple of these other duties as well. So that's really what also uncovered it. So thank you, Pete, for shining light on that too. So there was a little bit more responsibility, more of the same responsibility for this position, and difficult to justify.
I'm sorry. I mean, I think I know all of this, and I work relatively closely with the department because of senior services, et cetera, with Sarah in particular, and I do understand. I just, as you've had the opportunity, as Adam has come into his position, as Sarah has now really gotten familiar with what she's responsible for, et cetera, we get it. It would be preferable for, I think, all of us to have situations like this be an anomaly, but they do occur. We get that, they do occur. And I just say, we're very appreciative of your efforts to reorganize, to be more efficient, and to use those dollars appropriately. So I get it, but Mr. Shorten is absolutely correct. We're kind of sort of telling everyone, this really, at times when money is tight, when our resources are really limited, these kinds of things throw off our budget discussions. So we appreciate your understanding of that.
Absolutely.
Did I say it right?
Yeah, I appreciate it as well. I just think we as a board need to figure out when we're gonna cut this off, because we've already, we had discussions on Monday with a bunch of, so we put them all through. All of them had what amount to increases in spending and increases in property taxes. So and at some point admonishment needs to become,
Serious.
yes. So that's why I wanted to bring that forward, and I welcome anyone else's input on that.
Well stated.
This will be a subject of discussion at Administrative Services on Wednesday, and maybe we can refine the policy. But I will tell you, from my position, I think that there can be an opportunity to make mid-year changes, in particular when it's associated with a departure from the organization and a shifting of responsibilities, and that is what we have here.
Understood, I think.
Yeah. I think that's an important distinction. Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, then I will move to a roll call, please.
Van Hoff,
Yes.
Krieger,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Shorten,
Yes.
Altough,
Yes.
Von Bergen.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much
Thank you.
for coming in and. Okay, next up, we'll move to budget reviews. We have the Regional Office of Education first.
All right. I'm going to start, if that's okay.
Good morning, we're Diana Hartman, ROE Superintendent.
All right, since, I've been doing this with all the committees, and since I think these are the first budgets with PHCS, I would like to just kind of revisit a few of the things we talked about at the committee of the whole.
This is our first, right, in public health? This is
Yes.
our first, right?
Yes.
So just a quick reminder, because there still seems to be a little bit of confusion with some of the terms, and I know there's a lot of terms, and it's confusing, specifically how it relates to governmental accounting specifically. So just super quick overview, general fund versus special fund. So the general fund is the main operating fund of the county. The special revenue funds, we have about, I think, 40 of them. They are special revenue that's restricted for special use. So just keeping in mind that those are kind of siloed, but a lot of our discussion, specifically yesterday at the Transportation Committee, was even though they're siloed, we have to kind of remember how they interact amongst themselves. And I think going forward into September, October, there's going to be a lot more discussion. But just keeping in mind that there are rules about how they interact, and we do have to keep them separate. So today, Diana, she's going to go into a little bit. She actually has another layer of this. She gets quite a bit of funding from the state, but the part that the board is responsible for funding some of her staff members and her office space, that is general fund expense. So you can see here the general fund is large. All the departments that are covered in it, we're going to be just talking about ROE. Another quick reminder is anytime we talk about a general fund budget, when you see the personnel line, that does not include benefits. So I just like to bring this up and remind everyone that any discussion about personnel, we have to consider the impact to the other funds, specifically FICA, IMRF, and health insurance. So the FICA and IMRF is an expense for the general fund employees, and they're in their own funds, and both those funds are funded by property tax. So it becomes another discussion when we talk about the levy, the aggregate extension, and how we divide it up. Again, the total revenue, this is last year's budgeted revenue. Not only, but 40% is the general fund. So I think a lot of this discussion focuses on the general fund, and that's because it has the most decision points, it has the most unrestricted sources of revenue. So, but I just want you guys to remember that we do have a large amount of special funds, and then the enterprise funds are Valley High and ETSB. And really the distinction between that and the special funds is the enterprise funds are accounted for more like a business, you would see. Like instead of having, like they would have like a revenue and loss. General fund, we won't go into this too much because our other two departments today are special funds, but again, there's a lot of discussion around property tax. This is all the sources of revenue in the general fund. So we do have other uses within the general fund, and I think some of the departments we'll be talking about at the next public health are more of a focus on the general. Yes.
Just, and it's outside the box, and I apologize to you. Typically speaking, is that true that the property tax is about 40% of the overall general fund?
Well,
Does that, how much does that
Yes.
vary year to year?
yes,
It has been, but now with the mental health moving out of property tax.
that's in the total levy, yeah.
I'm talking about the overall budget.
Yeah. I know, I had to.
We are
Levy,
less
budget,
property
levy.
tax now than ever.
Oh, okay, that's, okay,
But yeah, this number has been going down slowly. Like it was around 40.
okay.
This slide I really kind of want to focus on a little. As we talk about when VAC comes up, this is, so the total property tax extension last year by the county was 65 million. So we take that 65 million and we divide it up into the levied funds. And so in 2025, when we levied, this was the breakdown between funds. And as you recall from just the prior slide, the general fund received 61%. That's the one that
That's what
changed
I'm
when
thinking.
mental.
Yeah.
That's only 37% of the total revenue for the general fund. So it's still a significant amount, but some of these other funds, IMRF, FICA, VAC, the property tax levy is their only source of revenue, highway for the most part. So I think it's important, you know, we make a recommendation for you and then you pass the ordinance based on how we divide that 65 million up. But a lot of times it comes down to, you know, which funds are not healthy or which funds are property tax levy not keeping up with their expenses. So we have to shift money to that. And then it kind of leaves what's left to try to cover the general fund operating expense. But again, there's more tools within the general fund, so that's why a lot of the times that's the way the discussion goes. Any questions on this? Because I think we'll be coming back to it when we talk about VAC. Good. You guys tired of hearing? And then this is just a good one I like to show. So this yellow is the actual total extension of the county. This number at the top is what we could have extended. So the blue makes up the difference of what we could have extended based on PTEL. And the total of all the blue over these 10 years is 65 million. So I just like to highlight that. Like this I think really shows like the work that you've done to keep, you know, we don't just start right out of the box and say we're gonna take as much as we can and then get our expenses to try to match our revenue. You know, we do it the opposite, look at what we need and then the available funds.
And I'm gonna be bad again. I want everybody to keep that in mind as we talk about the budget moving forward. It's not like those before us or those that have been in service for a while haven't taken this seriously in the past. We've done a remarkable job of holding down our taxes. So it's not as if, you know, the new board is coming in and doing something different. This has been a long time historical effort on the part of those of us who came before. right?
I concur, and the other, I think calculation, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not really in here, is a lot of other public bodies typically tend to take the max PTEL amount year over year. So while the savings from a year-to-year basis is based on what we levied the previous year, if we had actually taken the PTEL limit every year, that chart would be dramatically different.
Correct, so if you see here where, so we can do the look back. So these numbers out here are based on this reduction, but if it would have been at 81 million this year, then the number would be even bigger.
Yeah.
So I just did this so it matches the county clerk's extension report, so there's no debate. But there is, it's more if we took the max every single.
Oh, yeah.
And I say that not to say kick the barn doors open and let's black box it, but it's obviously a challenging environment for everyone. We hear it from our constituents across the board. And I've told people continually that I'm not in favor of raising taxes, but there's also, you have to have a functioning government. So our job is to make sure that we have that functioning government. And I think we need to take all that into account, and when we're talking to our constituents, we need to be able to articulate that. And some may understand, others will choose not to.
Well stated.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to remember that percentage of the tax bill that is actually coming from the county.
Yeah.
All you have to do is say that, and then look at the other taxing bodies.
It's been decreasing year
Right.
after year after year. So, yeah, that was the point.
What is it, something like 8%?
6, I think. 6%?
6.5.
6.5.
I think this graph is a fabulous representation of that, and I'm not sure if it's available online for, those people who do like to research a little bit more as far as the general public, but a lot of people are visual, and maybe something like that's easily found on the website may
I can put that up.
help.
That's a
Maybe
really
I
good
can
idea.
do a little write-up too, showing, the county clerk has really great resources on his website with the tax extensions, and just showing like the report that I got this information from, and then, because sometimes it's hard, we talk such big numbers and percentages, but when you actually see the report, you see all the levies, and then the total extension, it helps, at least it helps me, it's my favorite report. So we can, I can put something out there.
That'd be great.
That'd be great.
It'd be nice to be able to tell constituents to point them to information. Yeah.
Okay, I'll be, I'm sorry.
No, thanks,
Yeah.
I learned something. I liked it. Are you pulling up the ROE?
Would you like me to?
Yeah, that would be
Okay.
great. So I'll give a little historical. So our partnership with the county pays for the rent of the ROE office and some of the ancillary bills for the office, electricity, garbage, things like that, water. And there are 3 employees at the office: the truancy officer, the program and communications coordinator, and the licensure specialist are the 3 salaries that the county provides. So in Carrie might be able to say this a little differently, but in my mind, I'm holding flat except for the normal raises of those 3 employees. I don't remember the contract for the rent, if that stays consistent over the 5 years or if there's an increase.
So right now, if you recall, the cost for the ROE moving to their new location, that expense is in the ARPA fund. All of it, the rent, the utilities. And so, we talk a lot about in 2027, some of the things we're gonna be seeing rolling off ARPA and onto the general fund. So you don't see it in this one because this is a general fund department and ARPA is paying it, but next year you will see it. It's about $5,400 a month. Diana's done a lot of work to get the Pearson lab up and running, which generates about $1,300 a month in revenue to offset that expense. So, but yeah, next year we will see a line in here under contractuals for rent and utilities.
But I guess, because we've had this discussion in the past too, mandated, unmandated. So your office is mandated by state statute.
Correct.
They provide obviously some funds to assist that. Is there anything in here that's not required?
Great question. So the truancy officer is, and the other two positions, the program communications coordinator and the licensure specialist, I think technically aren't mandated. Now, just historically, the county used to also provide an assistant truancy officer, but I've reabsorbed that back into the office. So I pay for that out of truancy funds that I get from the state and overage from the Pearson Testing Center as well.
So again, as we do this, the only areas here that we really have some ability to control is personnel,
Correct.
right?
And it may be kind of a gray, because the county is required to provide an office space and office staff.
Understood.
So, I would argue that this is all mandated.
Yeah, if you didn't do
But
a
I'm just-
licensure, who would?
Yeah, well, I understand, I would agree, but I just
Yeah.
want, again, to be clear, because I listened to transportation yesterday for hours. But that was part of the conversation too. The only real area that's in front of us that you can actually have some flexibility in is personnel.
Yeah,
And I would
think,
say that would leave you short.
right, I think we would have to go back into statute and look really, really closely. I know there's a balance. So I know some of the ROEs will fund all themselves and they're completely separate from the county. The ISC center, so if a little historical here, in the state of Illinois, Cook County has 3 ISC service centers. Those ISC service centers don't do anything with CPS. CPS's ROE directly is ISB. Like everything in Chicago, it's a different animal than the rest of the state. I don't know why. But
Because their home rule.
right.
They have the ability to do that.
And so everybody else in the state is elected except Cook County. The 3 ISC centers that serve the other Cook County schools are appointed. Now, some of the ROEs or ISCs are completely self-funded through lots of different types of ways. Some have had the ability in the past to be the grant manager that funds all of an area or all of a state for something. And those kind of develop over time due to the financial responsibility that was in the office, the political relationships that were in the office, and so forth. So I just didn't want to have anybody not know that there's some that do that, and maybe they just go outside of statute and say, okay, we're clear of each other, that type of thing. But in statute, it's definitely there for definitely truancy and definitely the office.
Yeah, I would agree. And if you think that you need to dig a little deeper to ensure that the other positions are required, could you do that for us?
Oh, sure. I think it's kind of that vague language of how you interpret it.
Sure.
And it's to perform the duties, that type of language. So it's not going to state those positions, but it's going to say to perform the duties. So,
And licensure is a big duty.
right, absolutely.
So just for edification, I'm assuming licensure has to do with licensing of teachers?
Correct. So all throughout the year, we get special requests. There are multiple emergency type of licensures right now that ISB has created for the teacher shortage. And therefore, we are verifying all of those requirements in the office. The ROE superintendent signs off, and then that person can be placed in the school if they don't have their traditional license.
Okay. So again, understand the question of whether it's mandated or not. If it were hypothetically to be eliminated, then what happens?
Well, so I have a grant called ROE ISC, and I have a grant called Regional Safe Schools Grant. We're actually probably have a meeting this week. There's another grant that helps do the Regional Safe School. So if you're unfamiliar, the ROE ISC grant is to fund some of the office and professional development that we do. The fees that we get for people renewing their licenses in the county, that all comes to the ROE, and that's mandated to all go back as professional development instruction for our educators in the county. The Regional Safe School can be used for a little bit of management at the office. For example, so Chris, my assistant superintendent, and I are paid by the state of Illinois. Everybody else is either paid by the ROE or the county, right? And so if there are some management expenses of the ROE, we can, say that that's in aid of running the safe school as well. So I could do a little bit of that for the Safe School grant. So our Safe School is just south of the intersection where we are, so kind of over on Mercy Drive across from the hospital. And we have a principal, 3 teachers, a counselor, always, and the building rent and all the expenses for that staff as well that we fund. So typically, I put all of that money to the Safe School and don't say like there's any management expenses over at the ROE, for that. But we could if we had to.
And then same discussion about the program and communication coordinator, because that was the other.
Yes, well, she is, like many of us in the ROE, we wear multiple hats. So that was like the best overall. She is our person that you see out front, that's Kim Walters. She schedules all the fingerprinting, so we do fingerprinting for, some districts will do it for themselves now, just a few of the big districts, but if they need help, we will obviously help them, and we do it for everybody else in the county as well. Fingerprinting, background checks, and that also includes any person walking onto the grounds of a school that's going to do work. So all of the construction crew that comes in during the summer, even when students may or may not be there for summer school or something like that, they have to come to our office and get background checked.
And, a little historical background as well. The state of Illinois, in trying to manage their budget too, reduced the number of REOs. And I will tell you that McHenry County fought hard to maintain, because it does provide a phenomenal service to a large group of, educators. And they were forced for a period of time, long ago, to drive to Lake County when that position was vacant, when the REO superintendent was vacant. And it was a huge pain for a lot of those educators. It was, again, an issue. And so we fought very hard to ensure that we kept our REO here in McHenry County to provide those services locally. Just long before your time.
Yes,
again,
yes.
I'm old. So I just wanted everybody to know that that was something that we found value in.
Yes. And, the office is going very strong now. We just wrapped up our first conference ever that we provided in the county. It was at McHenry Upper Campus. We had over about 230 educators there that came in for free during their summer. They didn't get paid, and they're very dedicated, and we offered a great day for them, and we've received a lot of great feedback. So we are offering all the admin academies in the county. We're offering professional development all the time. I also pay out about $110,000 per year to the districts to reimburse whatever they did internally for professional development as well. So we are strong and just doing, the biggest thing that we have is sometimes we don't have enough people to do all the things that we would love to do for our districts.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, then I guess I will ask, do we have a consensus to move this ahead
I'm good.
from everybody?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much for coming in, Diana.
Absolutely. Nice to see you all.
Okay. Mr. Iwaniki with the Veterans Assistance Commission.
She passed the baton.
I'm bringing with me Keith Dugan. He's the assistant superintendent.
Awesome. Ms. Altough.
With your concurrence, and Superintendent Iwaniki, with your concurrence, can I ask, would you be okay if I asked Administrator Austin just to give us, again, a little bit of a general comment on what happened with state statute and your ability to levy before we have this conversation?
No, not him.
He's not
How
here.
about Karen?
Yeah, how about
Go right
Karen?
ahead. Go right ahead.
Or Scott? I don't know, I think he stepped out, I didn't realize he had.
Because I can explain it.
Yeah, he did, he knew I was.
Pete, you're on the deck.
I just asked, can you?
You're in the hot seat.
Can you give,
Second copy, Scott,
Really?
thirsty.
Where's
can you
mine?
give the committee kind of an overview of state statute and what occurred and how that affects the VAC levy? And just I don't want to put, you did make mention of it last year, so I thank you for that. I mean, you did, but can you kind of
Well,
delve a little?
you know, it was a couple of years ago now, the General Assembly, I think, took a step that was challenging for a lot of county boards in the state. That really said that BAC slice of our aggregate levy is out of the control of the county board. So as Carrie put that slide up there, it said all those little chunks, you know, IMRF, Social Security, General Fund, tort, Senior Services, VAC. VAC is not a big slice. I think we levied, Carrie, 760 last year, right? But that was the number that the veterans told us they wanted. It was not you know, a number that the county board said it was going to be. And it's going to unfold the way that, right, this year. I mean, it's the General Assembly said the veterans are important to us, and those local VAC boards kind of get to determine what that slice is going to look like. Albeit unelected, they get to say this is what they want. We have had a wonderful relationship with our VAC, and they have been very reasonable and
That ends today.
It hasn't been that way in every county.
No.
It hasn't been that way in
I
every
attest
county.
to that.
And I hope that we can continue to have that kind of healthy, constructive relationship. But there is an understanding that, you know, we need to negotiate and come to an agreement. We aren't going to tell them how much levy they're going to get.
And so ultimately, be very clear, how does that ultimately then affect our ability as we look at levying and we look at our budget?
And
I'm not dumping on you, Superintendent.
That legislation giving more authority to the Veterans Assistance Commission did not make the pizza bigger. It just made their ability to cut the slice larger for themselves. So what happens, it diminishes the slices on the rest of the pie. And it's just that simple. The pie is only the pie. The size of the pie gets set by the aggregate, the total levy, but how big that slice is the VAC's decision.
And I do want to say thank you. I mean, publicly.
Yeah, they've been reasonable with their pizza cutter has been pretty good.
Really, that you've been a phenomenal partner, you know, overall VAC and how we have to manage our, again, ever shrinking amount of resources that we receive from a revenue perspective. So again, just publicly, thank you very much.
And I appreciate the comments. We are trying to work with the county and be reasonable. I'm sure you've heard stories, and I've even teased Pete before, where I come in with a napkin with a number on it and just walk out. And, that's not the way we want to do business. We want to be open. We want it to be transparent. We want to be responsible to the taxpayer of McHenry County who's footing the bill. That said, you recently were made aware that because we had a meeting on it, we had the auditor actually do an audit of us and find ways we can do better. That's part of the value of the partnership I like having with the county, because I'd rather this be a partnership than an adversary. They found some things, we fixed them, and they gave us some recommendations which we're working on. One of those being, maybe we should start looking at grants again. Like, we got a couple items that are on our budget, which we're also seeing if we can't get a grant for. I'd love to end the year pulling out some of what's on that budget because we ended up finding a grant for it. And I know we're in stage 2 on one of them. So that would knock out a little more than 80,000. Some of the challenges we're looking at for next year, going into this year, I'm sorry.
Just clarification on what you just said. So we don't know yet if that grant is going to be successful, although yay, you're on round 2. But you've included that in this?
It's in the budget. If we get the grant, that comes out.
Okay, I gotcha. Thank you. That's what I was asking.
Okay. So some of the challenges we're looking at back in 2023, the RTA basically instructed PACE. I'm not sure if I'm being accurate on this, but we had the PACE lease, and we started having to do our reports directly to the NTA, which is the record-keeping arm of the FTA. NTD, I'm sorry. Too many acronyms. I should know this, I'm in the military. Anyway, by the end of 2024, we turned in all our reports, and in April, NTD came back and said, wow, you're not eligible to be receiving this. Go back to your grantor and let them know. And and as a consequence, unfortunately, we lost our PACE lease. So we're in the process now, still, getting the vehicles ready so we can turn them back over to PACE. But basically, that grant is gone. So that's why we had the emergency shuffling of monies to get the van. And then on top of everything, we lost a van yesterday to a transmission problem. But now we're down to one vehicle.
How old is that van?
2019. Yeah, the 2019 went out?
Yes.
Yeah. I was in Bloomington yesterday.
Sorry, how much was that PACE lease?
The PACE lease, it's really wonderful. Municipal PACE lease program, $1,000 down, $100 a month for a 13-passenger Champion bus. We take care of maintenance, gas, and everything else, but you're looking at a vehicle that's upwards of $150,000.
Right.
So.
Why are we no longer eligible?
Because they said we're not open to the public. What they expect us to do is basically what PACE does. Because we pick up veterans and their spouses to go to medical appointments scheduled by the VA, they determine that we're not open to the public.
It's the exclusivity of veterans that we don't follow in their interpretation.
So our choice was lie to the federal government.
That's not always good.
No, probably not a good idea. Or concede to that, and we tried to see if there was a way around it. That's why we learned this in April, and here we are at the end of July, and we're just now prepared to turn over the vehicles. We were trying to find if there was a way out. We even asked PACE if they'd sell us one of the vehicles, and the answer to that was no. So we ended up looking at state contract. For those of you who've been around for a while, okay. Back in the old days, when I first got here, we had our own vehicles. And we used to go through state contract, which would have been an outfit in Kankakee, and there's another one. Is that in Kane County or Southern Cook now that we're working with?
I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, but there's a couple state contracts, and we were able to get the vehicles then. To give you an example, that was back in the days when I'd spend $60,000 to get a 11-passenger minibus. Now I can't get a used one for that price.
And how many are in your fleet now in general? Did you have?
We have 2 minivans, one is being fixed. And then we've got one on the way from the outfit, I think in Southern Cook County. And that is a Ford Transit, Ford Transit van, and it'll hold 4 people in a wheelchair. And we think for now that's satisfactory. We don't have to jump into another 13-passenger bus right away.
So typically your fleet is the 2 buses and then this one new?
The 2 buses and 2 minivans.
Okay, thanks.
And we're down 2 buses and a minivan, so we're a little stuck. So that's challenge number 1 that we were faced with this budget. Challenge number 2, they recently, we've used the Housing Authority and some other agencies that do financial assistance, and most of them are raising their rates effective, I think, October to 200% of the poverty level guideline for eligibility. Currently, we're 150%, they're raising it to 200%. Now, going into this year, when we did last year's budget, our biggest concern was inflation was so bad. I mean, remember paying $8 a dozen for a dozen eggs? Yeah, unfortunately, once prices go up, they usually don't come down that much. They have come down some, but not much. So we had inflation pressure to keep that up. It kind of capped off, and that's under, now we got this new change that's coming in. So since we go by the Health and Human Services poverty level guidelines, so now we're going to 200% of that, plus whatever that change is. So we're projecting that our tables are going to change as much as 40% overall with that change. So that's where the 2210 line items, the financial assistance, go into change. And then our big challenge in 2027 is the contract for the software we use is up, and we have to negotiate a new 5-year contract. Now, as far as our relationship with that company, they have been phenomenal. We have regular meetings with them. They address all our problems. I just can't believe how good they've been. But the contract comes to an end, and so far they haven't given us a clue what that's going to cost. That was originally in the budget, and I was projecting it was going to be around $170,000. I forget, I took it out when I realized it's next year, 2027. But I believe I budgeted like $170,000 for that, for a 5-year contract. So at that point, that's going to be the next superintendent's duty to figure out what that is.
$170,000 a year or over 5 years?
Over 5 years.
Okay.
So that's a couple of the fun things that we've been dealing with. And there's I'm happy to say that the commission, there's only a couple people who think we should hit that floor of 2%. That says, oh, we should be doing what Lake County is doing. Did I say that out loud? We should be doing what other people are doing.
And so there is.
And we're not that. You know.
So there is a cap on the levy amount that you can.
No, there's a floor.
Oh, there's a floor.
Yeah, we're below the floor.
Thank you.
Okay, the floor is, our commission was the largest commission that insisted that we weren't going to sign on to this law unless they add language that says if we don't need what is defined as the floor, we can take less. And we weren't the only VAC that was complaining about that. There was a number of other ones that were concerned about getting that kind of funding all at once. And so, let's creep up to that as we need it rather than just jump into it and create a problem for everybody, including ourselves.
Which is greatly appreciated.
So that law is in there. So we're not at the floor, which is 0.02%. And what does that come out to? About 3 million?
Are you talking about the limiting rate? That's the ceiling.
No, the ceiling was 04.
Oh, yeah, 04.
The floor was 02.
I'll have to look it up.
I think it's close to 3. And I know, what is it now? Are we 06 or something like that?
The computer is not as fast as.
Yeah, you want math or economics, you're talking to the right guy. So.
Lake County has water.
So while we were waiting for that.
Sure, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, has this affected some of the services that you were able to do for veterans before, being down to, one vehicle and then having to get those other ones out of the fleet?
I've had to notify passengers, especially those who are limited mobility, that we're going to be challenged for a while until we get the new vehicle. So we're trying to work with the VA to see if there's anything they can do to help them out. But unfortunately, I think for many of them, it's been a hardship.
And again, our McHenry Connect program, which is the use of the Ubers, can't accommodate that. I mean, the drivers can't get their wheelchairs in, et cetera, so there's really very little outside availability for those veterans to utilize here in McHenry County.
Right.
Just noting we have other programs, but they're just not, as workable.
And
for our
we get
veterans.
so much from RTA, so.
Right.
So.
Just noting.
But I'd say among the programs that we're most proud of, I would say when this law first came into effect, there's a big concern about the veteran suicide rate, suicide in general. And one of the things that they embraced was we partnered with NAMI, and we're teaching people mental health first aid. Yes, would you like to say something about that, Kim?
I did. I took advantage of the program, and now I'm a trainer. So I truly appreciate that. It has been eye-opening for me, but it has been extraordinarily wonderful to be part of the community and be able to train first responders with mental health and focus in on a lot of the suicides. McHenry County has the highest suicide rate in the entire Chicagoland area. It's an issue. It's a real issue.
And unfortunately, it's impossible for someone to tell if the person they're working with is a veteran or not. So we're throwing out a broad net, because if we throw out a broad net and more people know how to do it other than just veterans, then you're sure to get those veterans too.
And the veterans' families.
Yeah.
More importantly, really, yeah.
Because it affects their families as well. So that's one we're proud of. I think the last class was 23 individuals, which was really great. And we hope to do 150 next year. That'll be great. Does anybody have any questions? I know it's all exciting looking at numbers and stuff.
Hey, Mike, I have your rate. So the limiting rate is 0.04, and then you were right. Where you're at is 0.0061. You said the floor was 0.02?
Yeah.
That would be just under 2.5 million.
Okay, I was close. But we're not there.
No?
But I think it's, thank you. It's an education, including, me. I didn't always understand how this worked either, so thanks.
And you're always welcome to come down to our office. I can sit down, open up the computer as long as it's not client stuff, and show you how we come up with all this. Any other questions?
Outside of what you've presented, what else do you foresee? You're leaving, and we're going to have a new superintendent, and that's, good and bad, right? What do you see, though, as you leave as the major challenges as we kind of look forward?
I think the biggest challenge we're going to be facing is, well, first of all, it's an unfunded mandate. Trying to get the state to fund health and human services. There's a line item in health and human services that if someone like me prosecutes a claim before the VA Board of Appeals or the U.S. Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, and we successfully win that case, there's a provision in Illinois state law that says they have to reimburse us. That line item never gets funded.
They do that with small claims at the state level as well.
You know,
They don't fund it.
and there was another one that I did for about 3 years. And I think the only person who would know that would be you, Pam. And that is if we are supporting a client and they're disabled and they need to be on Social Security Supplemental Income, SSI, that we had a agreement with Health and Human Services. They act as our agent. We prosecute this, help them get SSI, and then we're reimbursed a portion of their back payment to cover the costs of what we did. 3 years, never saw a dime. You know, and I keep wondering, well, where did the money go?
Was never there.
Yeah, so yeah, getting the state, I guess, to get involved with us, especially and I'm only speculating, I can't speak for the director of the Illinois Department of Veterans Affairs, but I think there's more of an emphasis on taking care of state veterans programs and the state veterans nursing homes, and maybe slowly stepping away from veterans claims, especially with some of the new upcoming laws to encourage the creation of more VACs. So, you know, that is possible. And then who knows what happens in the future. Another opportunity challenge, the president recently announced that they wanted to do something more with homelessness. Now, I know money went into the VA to address homelessness not too long ago, not sure how that's gonna look for us. But you know, what is this overall homelessness issue gonna look like? What are communities expected to do? Is there grant opportunities for organizations such as the VAC to help address it? I don't know. Until we see the fine print in the language, don't know what that's gonna look like. So that's a challenge / opportunity. All these things, you know, if I had my crystal ball out, I could tell you exactly what was gonna happen.
Do you know, just from general, and I'll shut up finally, what the percentage of veterans that are located in McHenry County? Do you have any idea?
How many?
Or percentage-wise?
Not percentage-wise, and I know we're slightly above average, I wanna say 6, but I think according to the VA, there's 15,000 veterans in McHenry County. Do you have an idea?
Yeah, I Googled it. It's
You got
approximately 5.5%.
I was 6, yes, about 6%.
That's a world interface.
And it's going down a little
Thanks,
bit
Eric.
also.
Yeah, and that's another challenge because we have agencies in the county that specialize in helping veterans, and as time goes on, if that veterans number continues to decline, which currently it looks like only one agency is protected under the law. So does that mean the future of the VAC is we're going to be everything to everyone? You know, currently, the way I look at things, you've got some agencies that are very good at what they do, and I'm more than happy to help them out, pay them to do what they're doing to help our veterans out, rather than doing it ourselves, which will involve learning curve and a lot more money. So I don't know what the challenge is on that. And, you know, when I first started this back 98, there was about 22,000 veterans in McHenry County. So obviously over that time, it's gone down. And I don't know how much more it's gonna go down. I only know of 3 World War II veterans left. 105, 101, and one about to turn 101.
Wow.
So, don't know.
I appreciate the narrative, I do, thank you.
Any other questions? Any rotten fruit to throw?
Absolutely not.
Certainly not.
We have been incredibly lucky to have you leading our VAC. Your dedication and leadership have just have really been exceptional, and we really appreciate your working with us.
Well, I do look forward to coming in November and introducing you to the new superintendent, whoever that may be. I know at least 2 of the candidates come from a VAC that has a similar thought process.
So I'm delving, you've given us the general overview. Your anticipated expenditures moving forward are significantly higher than what they were previously. I'm gonna assume the transportation is one of them. You said, but that doesn't happen until 2027, the contract. So just kind of real quickly.
2027 is the software contract.
Is the software contract. So just noting that it is almost double, kind of outside of the vehicles themselves and the transportation, what else do you foresee?
Financial assistance is changing.
Okay.
Yeah, my calculations haven't worked since 2008 because it's been unpredictable what happens in the federal government, and I don't know what was different before then. I've not been able to match the change since then. But if I go by what those calculations were, it could change as much as 40%. So,
You're anticipating some of that.
Right.
Yeah. So this is kind of the worst case scenario, maybe.
I wouldn't say it's the worst case scenario. I pulled back from the worst case scenario. I think this is more probably realistic.
Okay.
I actually have a question. So say you budget for $1.5 million, you spend $1 million. Does that 500,000 just go into like some sort of reserve fund?
I think because if we had a levy, yes, it would go into a reserve fund, but we don't have a levy. Is that correct? We don't have a levy in the sense that the taxpayers have gotten together and said this much is earmarked for the VAC.
So of the aggregate extension, we have it broken down to all the levies. Once we levy for VAC in that particular line, whatever the amount is, that goes into the VAC fund and stays there. So budget is just what he's approved to spend, but then the fund balance
Can roll over that.
it all stays within his special revenue fund, because we have to track it. So if we levy $1 million, but he only spends 700,000, then that 300,000 has to be spent in future years.
Now that number is currently negative though.
Correct.
Okay, that was gonna be my next question. What's the reserve fund
Appreciate
look
that.
like?
Well, yeah.
Well, this is one of the funds that we've been talking about, working within kind of the constraints of the total extension. We really have to look at what funds are needed so highway has been the issue, which has been a huge negative. So as we kind of shift dollars to there, FICA, IMRF, and VAC, I would say it's low. It's only like maybe 100,000.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
But you remember what the high was.
But
Yeah.
but really, that's more how we account for it. But it is in the general fund bank account, so it's not like it's ever, they have a request and there's no money to fill that request. We just have to catch up with
So it just wraps up into the general fund reserve?
the bank account.
Oh, okay.
All the funds are separate, remember? So anything that's in VAC stays in VAC.
Okay.
Good to know.
So we've
you
never
hear that?
let anything go unfunded.
Correct.
We run lean on what we're levying for the VAC because that's what we have to do. We've never had any services going in. In fact, generally your expenses are not as high as you predict.
Generally, that's true.
Yes. But there's always cash to
Yeah.
pay for what the ask is.
And I attribute a lot of that to staff, deciding they don't need crazy stuff. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you so much for coming in.
And feel free to stop down and say hi anytime. We're all getting fat because people keep dropping off donuts.
Can I just ask administration?
Oh, yeah. We need to, what was, about this?
With what's being, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
With what's being proposed budgetarily by the AC, what does that do to our levy? And how much of that
I mean,
are they
I
asking?
thought that same thing. I was just-
So their levy request for 25 is $760,000.
I'm saying again? I apologize, I couldn't hear.
So their levy request in this year's budget is, so their piece of the 65 million is 760,000. So whatever the levy is next year, their piece has to be 1 million based on their ask and based on their current fund balance. So if it stays 65 million, that 240 has to come out of a different levy.
Got it.
They're asking for a bigger slice.
A bigger slice, so if the pie is the same, then someone else's slice is smaller, which we already know it can't be highway, FICA, or IMRF.
Okay.
A visual of that would be nice, if that's just, you know. Because the pie is not gonna get bigger. It would be nice if the pie got bigger, it's not gonna get bigger. Pie is pie. So it would be nice to see,
The pie can get 2.9%.
Yeah, the pie can get bigger.
well,
It can get 2.9% bigger.
you're absolutely, thank you for correcting that, thank you.
All right, do we have a general consensus to move this forward?
Yes.
If you click, here's the revenue.
Okay.
But if you click this to put it up, it's easier.
Okay,
And then you can see
moving
like the line
on
items.
to the mental health board.
Good morning. I'm Melanie Duran. I'm the Fiscal Operations Manager at the Mental Health Board. I just wanted to give you kind of a quick overview of what we're looking at for next year. So as you know, this is our first year on the sales tax instead of a property tax. And good news is based on the first 5 months of disbursements, we're looking at getting at least 10.3 million, we're hoping, which is more than the 10 million we budgeted for. So that's good. Hopefully we stay on track for that. We're projecting 10.35 million next year in sales tax revenue. And then our board has decided to put 1.9 million in fund balance to support client services in 2026. So we're looking at 12,761,000 in revenue for our budget. Any questions on that?
Hold that, I want to show Carol. Sales tax, this year, we're projecting 10.3 for fiscal 25, and next year, they're going to put 10.3. More than that.
Like I said, that's based on 5 months, so hopefully we continue with that trend and we don't see a decrease. So for expenses, for 26, we're looking at 1.1 million in personnel, 770,000 in administrative, and 10,878,000 in client service funding, which is, you know, what we're using to support the community. Kind of what we're looking at, we have 2 changes in our budget that we're looking at as far as personnel. We're increasing training assistance hours from 30 hours a week to 37 hours at a cost of $9,500. But the good news is that she's going to be taking on some of our network marketing. We're doing more of a social media focus, so we're going to reduce our contracted marketing by $17,000 for that personnel change. Our one capital project we're looking at, we're budgeting $175,000 for remodeling our bathrooms in our original building, which is hitting the 24-year mark next year, I believe. And we are seeking grant funding for that, so if we do get the grant funding, we're hoping that $175,000 will just be moved into client services and enable us to support more. So overall, we're looking at a 14.76 admin percentage, but we've kind of been looking at our admin a little differently because our personnel includes 2 positions at $160,000 that are basically providing network services. They're our training team, and they are doing 50 trainings a year that enable, all the licensed people in the community to continue to maintain their licenses. We're providing 3,000 people a year with their continuing education credits to maintain their licensure. So those two people's salary, and they are also the people that are going to be doing our network marketing, which promotes, our service directory, which gets out, the list of agencies in the community. It gets out information about 998, different supports for different, each month we're doing a special social media for the, I guess you'd call it the focus of the month. Some months it'll be suicide prevention, some months it'll be 988, some months it'll be the IDD population. It just, going along with the other, trying to think of the word, focuses each month. Everything's got a ribbon of the month. So that's kind of where we focus on that. And then also we look at our building expenses. We rent the majority of our space out to other not-for-profits, so we can give them lower rent, but at the same time, we're also covering a large majority of our building operating expenses. So that's where we're at for administrative. Any questions on our expenses? Yes.
The two open positions, these positions have been open for how long? And
Okay, so one position is our executive director, who's been open since March, and then the other position's been open since May.
And the increase in personnel costs, okay, I'm sorry, I'm looking at actual 24 to.
Right. So, it's our normal merit increase. We're at 3.25% for that. It's the increase in health insurance. In health insurance, we're budgeting for an 8% increase overall, plus the two open positions. One person wasn't taking insurance, but now we have to budget for insurance. The other one was taking for one individual, but we're budgeting for a family. So we're hoping when we fill those positions, hopefully before the end of this year, we'll be able to kind of take another look and maybe reduce those numbers based on what's actually elected.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so any other questions on our expenses?
Not on the expense, but just in general. Don't you love this? How much authority do we have over the budget for mental health now that it's on sales tax? I know, I love asking you those. I just want everybody to know. There's some, is there not someone?
In helping them with personnel and payroll
And
facilities,
processing
IT,
payments, yeah.
And with that partnership, we'd like to have cooperation, but in terms of how their dollars are spent, there's.
Do we,
in the past, you established their levy. That was a tremendous amount of control in terms of how many dollars were gonna go out the door. You're not establishing that anymore.
Right.
The retail market's establishing that.
I just wanted that to be clear. Although I do want to ask one question. I know that, do we still do it with VAC? And is there a possibility, and you're going to hate me for this, but do we charge for the services that we're providing with regard to payroll and all of that?
Only IT.
Yeah.
Only IT.
There's a partnership on IT.
And do we do it for VAC, which is only the other agency I know that ultimately we're providing that service to?
Yeah,
Do that for them?
Facility maintenance.
We have a chargeback.
We have a chargeback for VAC, okay. Just saying.
The VAC chargeback though is, he has a formula for administration, HR, finance, whereas this is just an IT position.
I'm providing information. I'm not making a recommendation or a suggestion. I just want everybody to be absolutely informed when, again, we're facing some very serious and significant decision-making possibilities. And I don't want to harm the mental health board or reduce their ability to provide financial assistance to all of the entities and organizations that care for our constituents. However, I also don't want to minimize or exclude the possibility that we are providing services to the mental health board for free. That's all I'm saying. Thanks.
All right. I know a big question is our fund balance. So at the end of '24, our fund balance was 10.8 million. We have a 3-month fund balance reserve policy that just changed in 2025. It used to be 5 months. So that means we have available fund balance of 7.7 million. So basically, the board has taken the position we want to maintain client service funding levels at least the 10.7 million in 2025. We want to try to maintain that or higher through fiscal year 2030. By using fund balance, we're going to be able to do that. And in what we're projecting with our sales tax revenues at the beginning in 2031, sales tax revenues should have caught up to a point where we can continue to fund at that level or higher without using fund balance. But at that point, we will have also spent down our fund balance to the point where we're at or slightly above the 3-month reserve balance. So, I mean, that's good news. We're hoping, you know, we can kind of do level funding through 2030 with the sales tax levy as it is and be able to spend down that fund balance that we've built up, which in part was due to, you know, double. We had sales tax for 4 months, 5 months last year and while getting property taxes. So then basically for both 25 and 26, we were putting in 1.9 million of that fund balance into our budget. So any questions on that?
Yes, I have a question. So are you saying then that you're going to try to keep the fund balance at like 3-month reserve?
Yeah,
That's what,
we're
because I know we
looking-
were like around 6 months before?
It was at 5 months
Was
before.
it 5?
Okay.
Yeah, it was at 5 months because of the way property taxes came in. We had to budget for that 5 months before we get our first property tax installment.
Okay.
So with sales tax, it's a 3-month lag.
Okay.
So, you know, with being able to do that, you know, 10.7 million or higher, we're able to just use the lower sales tax than what we were getting in property taxes and kind of level out. And we're projecting that in 2031, we'll be able to do that without hitting fund balance and actually start being able to raise what we can fund because we'll be getting more, so.
Okay, but not to go below a 3-month reserve?
No, not to go below the 3-month reserve.
So
We should be right around 3.5. We should be at
at
like 3.5, 4 months
Okay.
in 2031 is what we're looking at with these projections. Hopefully we're on track, so. All right, the other thing we're doing is we're handling opioid funds. So we're dispersing those for the county. And for fiscal year 26, we're projecting receiving $159,000 in opioid settlement funds. So the way we're budgeting for that, we are only budgeting the known settlements. And fortunately, we've been getting a lot of unknown settlements. We just get random 80,000 here and there. So we're hoping it'll be more than that, but we're only budgeting for what is known. And then we're using $500,000 of the opioid settlement fund balance to put in $683,000 in client service funding for the opioid settlement dollars. At the end of 24, the opioid fund balance was $1,063,067. So we're, you know, kind of trying to level fund and spread it as long as we can in support programs. So any questions on the opioid settlement funds and how we're maintaining those? Okay. And here's some fun numbers. So today is the deadline for our 26 client service funding applications. And when I looked yesterday, we have 80 applications put in for $12.2 million. Scary thing was, on the last day last year, we had 33 applications submitted on the last day. So that number I'm expecting to increase considerably. And then opioid settlement, we had 9 programs putting in for a total of $1.5 million. So if you can look above, we have just under 10.6 million in regular funding we're going to be distributing, and the 683,000 in opioid funds. So that's kind of where we're at compared to, you know, the requests we're getting. So staff is going to have a lot of work on their hands to try to evaluate. And we review each application individually. We have a rubric where we score each application, and then the staff puts together a recommendation for the board. So we're going to be looking at those applications in August and September. The board is going to meet with new agencies and new programs in October, and at the end of October, make their funding decisions. So that's where we're at. So any questions?
Dumb one. It has nothing, well, it does have to do, I guess, with, where are we with the search for a new executive director?
You know, we've got some interviews coming up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm looking, I don't want to put you on the spot.
We've got interviews coming up in the next month.
We had about 30-some applications, but only about 11 or 12 that went through the county process. And we said they had to go through the county process. And we narrowed that down to 4 applications. The county has been really great, the HR department, helping and calling and doing all that stuff. We have 4 interviews. On Monday, we interviewed 2 from 5 to 7:30. And on Tuesday, we interviewed 2. However, staff probably doesn't know this, and neither does the board. 1 of the 4 backed out. So we have 3 applicants that we feel are very, very good.
And I guess from a budgetary position, when do you anticipate filling that position? When do you assume someone's going to start?
What we usually
In
do is,
general.
is if we narrow it down to 2 people, they will give a presentation. We'll invite the staff to sit in on the presentations. Probably the decision will be made the end of this month at the board meeting, if not before. So we hope to have a new executive director within, because if they have a job,
Right, they have to give notice.
and whatever, in a couple months for sure.
Okay, so more like September, October.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, just, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So any other questions? Well, that's all I have for you today, so I appreciate your time.
Thank you, no, thank you very much.
Do we have a general consensus to move this along?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you again for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, let's see, no old business, no presentations, no reports. Future topics, it looks like next month we will have public health in front of us.
Board of Health will be here, or
Yeah.
Health Department will be here next.
Health Department. Is there anything in addition that anybody would?
We've talked, Chair Von Bergen and I talked yesterday some more, and I've talked with Melissa a couple times, Gary and I have. When we do the health department's budget in 4 weeks, we really want to focus on their whole budget. What portion of their whole budget is from property tax, right? Because it's not as much as you think, but where is the health department's funding coming from that's property tax based, and then further to dig in of the property tax based components, which are optional. So that's where we're going to really kind of focus our attention there.
And then a little discussion too, maybe on, because much of that is grant driven, what happens when those grants drop off? What the board anticipates rolling over, if they do, into a general operating or not. Can that be part of it too?
Okay, seeing no reason for executive session, is there a motion to adjourn? Ms. Rieger and Mr. Short, seconds.